don't
We
care.
got to talk about the targeting call.
You're getting sued. All right, Arizona State, if it's me up. I've never seen a more blatant targeting in my life. Like, we might do a documentary about what is targeting because we got to figure this out. How does that not get called? Is it because of Texas? I just don't know. You reviewed it too. You went and looked at it. Tell me how it's not targeting. Trust me, I'm not the biggest guy who comes out here. Oh, that's definitely roughing the passer. That's definitely targeting. That is letter of the law targeting.
Well, he's a defenseless receiver. He's a defenseless receiver, and there's helmet-to-helmet contact. And all of this talk about, well, yeah, that was targeting, but you just can't call that in that moment. Change the rule. Can we please get this rule figured out? We can't do this thing of, well, that's a really big moment in a college football playoff game, so you can't call it there. That's teach tape for targeting. Now, I hate the rule, so I don't mind it not being called. But if it's going to be in the rule book, then you have to call that. No, Jake?
No, look, you made my point. Think about it. This is why I like making comparisons and analogies. Think about this in any other sport. Do you think that if Duke was playing, I don't know, let's say Arkansas, right, in the Final Four, and there was a flagrant foul as the guy was dribbling the ball down the court, do you think they would just say, nah, can't call it. Can't call it in this moment? Can you imagine, like, in any other sport this happening? No. Like in baseball, can you imagine, like, guy hitting a game-winning grand slam, right, but he stepped on the plate when he swung? Then be like, no, well, yeah, it's against the rules, but we can't call in this moment. You want to know what it proves if you say, oh, yeah, it was a foul, it was a penalty, but we can't call in this moment? That means the rule sucks.
Thank you.
That means the rule sucks. You want to know why? Because it does.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's the worst. And guess what? I don't want to just offer complaints or grievances. I'm about solutions. All right? Basically, the customer service of college football. You call me with a problem, I got a solution for you. Here's what we do. I'm fine with having a targeting. I'm fine with that. But I think we need to do what college basketball does. And I've said this before any of these other guys came out in the media and said it. Now everybody wants to say it, right? You need a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2. All right? A flagrant 1, because I tell you, Arizona State's safety being out for the first half of that game was bullshit because of the hit on the Iowa State quarterback before. That is the worst. You have flagrant 1 and flagrant 2. Flagrant 1 is, accidental, not obviously blatantly targeting. We've seen guys blatantly do it and try and take guys out, right? That's a flagrant 2. I'm fine with that person being kicked out of the game, even missing a half the next one if it's a flagrant 2. If it's a flagrant 1 and it's like that, it's a 15-yard penalty. Nobody's kicked out of the game. It's just a personal foul penalty. That's it, right? And then if you get 2 flagrant 1s, then we can look at maybe kicking you out of the game. But guess what, David? That's got nothing to do with what happened. It was targeting. It was. I don't love it. He hit him with his face up. You want to see what you got to hit? Yeah, the player was defenseless, but why don't they ever call it on offense?
Yeah, I mean, it clearly wasn't spearing. Didn't we have a spearing call where it was just like, are you lowering your head? Again, I agree with you. Like, let's just play football, Well, and I mean, if we get in situations where we are lowering the head and spearing people, like maybe we can look at that. But
you want to know why I think they didn't call it? Because do you remember early in the game on that interception by Arizona State? They reviewed targeting on the safety from Arizona State.
Hit him with his body. Yeah.
He hit him with his body up. I think they called it even Stevens, which is still wrong.
How is that even Stevens?
I think they didn't call it on one. We see this happen in other sports all the time. We see it happening all the time. If they're going to let them play a certain way, which to me, I don't think I hate both of them, right? Because I'm a defensive guy, and they never call offensive targeting, even though I watch Cam Scatterbo and Ashton Genty lower their head like they're about to batter a front door of a castle. Like, it just, to me, we need to try and define the rule as much as possible, but I don't know how you sit there and look at him hit a defenseless guy in the face with his face, and it's not targeting. I thought it was, but look, there's a lot of places.
I am glad to see that a game of that magnitude didn't get won or lost based on that call. Well, I guess It kind of did, but the Arizona State didn't beat Texas in that game just because of that call. But again, then why have it? Because that's clearly targeting. And all you've done now is open up the door to, oh, this is big brand biased and SEC biased. And when we really shouldn't be talking about that, because we had an amazing football game. And I'll tell you what, in addition to the way Arizona State's defense really propped themselves up and responded to those couple big plays at the beginning, Sam Leavitt threw the football well enough down the field to be able to open up Cam Scatterboo throughout most of that game. And I'll be honest, Arizona State took Texas to double overtime when I thought their short yardage play calling was pretty poor. I know that's crazy to think. It was not great play calling, man. I mean, just running the football up the middle on 3rd and 4s and 3rd and 3s. It's like, you got to have some better answer than that.
The red zone play calling was atrocious.
Red zone too, yeah.
Atrocious.
In the third quarter, it was really bad.
And then you need a Cam Scatterboo Hail Mary from the running back position that was underthrown. Wide receiver made a great play on the ball just to get you back in the football game.
Yeah, that was.
You had unblocked guys on 4th and 2. You wanted to go up there and run in the B gap against Texas.
That's why
Without
Scatterboo was
doubling.
pissed off. That's why he
Yeah.
was pissed off on the sidelines.
Exactly.
It wasn't that nobody was blocking. It's that you're running him into the heavy cavalry, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and you have, and I'll tell you this much. I'll take Sam Leavitt over Quinn Ewers any day, buddy. I'll take him over Quinn Ewers any day. Sam Leavitt kept them alive so many times, even on plays that ended up in incompletions. I'm telling you guys, right? Sam Leavitt, and I can't remember what year he is. I think he's a sophomore.
Freshman.
So he's a freshman. Problem. Absolute problem. If I'm a wide receiver, like, guys, and remember, Jordan Tyson didn't play in this game.
I know.
Like, you talk about missing
Man,
a piece.
Sam Leavitt's a freshman.
Dude, he's an absolute stud. And, he's got that dog in him, too. That run he made on 3rd and 12 in the red zone, that's just
Looked like Kenny
you got to
Stabler
let him
running
hang
around.
sometimes, David. You
Yeah,
know this.
I know.
Sometimes you got to walk in the room naked and let him hang.
Sometimes you just got to do it, man.
But, all right, let's get to the chat.
All right, let's go to the Hog. He says, guys, why wasn't the hit on Bond not targeting? Then it looked pretty targeting to me.
What I love is the explanation. I actually feel bad for, like, Matt Austin and, like, Gene Steratore and some of these other guys that got to come in there. Because on one hand, the ref, those are your boys. Like, that's your squad. Like, those are your guys. It's like the people in accounting take care of the people in accounting, right? Like the head HR rep is going to take care of everybody that's in HR with them. Like, you're having to go on there, and sometimes they'll be like, well, Brock, I do agree with you. That was kind of tight, but I see why he did it. Listening to their explanations, here's what I saw on the one on Isaiah Bond. I don't care if you hit him with your shoulder or whatever. I thought the rule was if you launch to a defensive player and you hit them anywhere other than the stomach, I'm talking about here, they've called targeting. So just like Matt Walsh asked, what is a woman? What is targeting? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, what is it? I feel like we know a little bit more about what a catch actually is now, right? With surviving the ground and the amount of feet you have to have in and bobbling and did he secure it? Sometimes it gets a little bit iffy. But with targeting, it just seems like it's like one of those paintings that just nobody understands, right? You have people that pretend like they do. You have people that are like, oh, well, he was being pragmatic and he was trying to use cubes and brushes and stuff. You don't know what that means. I feel like it's just a canvas of, well, it could be, it couldn't be. I don't think you can define it. I really don't.
I just think if you hit somebody with your shoulder, it should never be targeting.
Even if you hit them in that. See, that's where it gets complicated. If you're hitting with your shoulder in their head, or you're hitting with your head in their shoulder, there's too many different ways to interpret targeting right now. I mean, Blaine, you played wide receiver. One of the things that makes football the game that we know and love is watching a wide receiver come over the middle with his eyes on the ball, trying to catch that, and a defensive back trying to dislodge the football so that there's not a big gain. That's what makes football the game it is. I understand not wanting to see people's careers or even lives be ended from playing this sport, but man, at some point we got to play the game.
I miss the days. I miss the days that you had to question your life when you went across the middle.
Yeah.
Like you had to question when you're up in the air. It's like, all right, this is it. This is us. We'll see where we go.
Well, it was like a badge of honor. Like if you had the
Yeah.
balls to do it, you're like, all right, I'm watching Hines Ward on the sideline for Arizona State. You want to talk about a guy that go across the middle?
Yeah.
Like some of these old school wide receivers. Here, what if we made the rule this simple? What if you can't target unless you leave your feet?
If
What
you're
if
if you're the defensive
If you're
player,
the defensive player, if you don't leave your feet, you cannot target, right? But like the one against Isaiah Bond, and I get why the defensive player did it. He was trying to dislodge the ball because the offensive player went in the air. What if there was a rule that if the offensive player does not leave his feet, if you leave your feet and spear or jump or launch, right, and you make that contact high, I'm not talking about jumping over the pile to hit a running back, but y'all know what I'm saying. What if it was that simple? What if it was that simple?
hey, on that play there, that was an intercept. That was the interception play, right?
Yes.
So in that case, the other player had control of the football, and then right behind him, sort of bang, bang, that's when the hit happens. If that was called targeting, is that an interception and you mark off the yardage backwards
No,
for air?
automatic first down for Texas.
Because technically they say, even though you've intercepted the football already, the play hasn't, it's not a post-foul play.
Yeah, well, just like if
post-play
the
foul.
ball's in the air and an offensive lineman is holding a defensive lineman and it gets intercepted, they're not going to give him that interception. I don't think,
Mhm.
Now again, could they say that it had already, I think they may have to review it to see when it changed possession. That would be the only way.
Mhm.
Because again, you can have a pick and then somebody blindside blocks on a
know.
return and you still get the ball. So
You still get
that's
the
a
ball,
great
yeah.
question. But again, guys, why don't we just make it this simple? If the offensive player does not leave his feet and you leave your feet and launch and you hit him in a high area, that's targeting. If the offensive player leaves his feet and you leave your feet, I don't care. He's not defenseless to me if he's going to get the ball. You're trying to make me lose my job. My job is for you not to get that ball. So what am I supposed to do? Let you catch it and then grab you and hope you drop it? I don't think that's the way the rule should be interpreted. But just like, guys, if an offensive player lowers his helmet and then you have to lower yours, it shouldn't be targeting. So why would we not go the other way? If a guy leaves his feet on offense to go catch a ball and I leave my feet to go hit him, that's just part of it. We both left our feet. We both signed the paper, right? So I think it could be that simple.
There's two things quickly. One, I hate the word defenseless. Look, dog, we're always defenseless. Right?
Yeah, you don't have a sword.
We're offense.
We're on offense. We're defenseless all the time. And two, just take out targeting. I'm done with it. I don't want to have these conversations anymore.
Well, Blaine, you can have both. You don't have to take it out. What you do
I
is
don't
you make it harder for it to be targeting, or you got to do one of two things. Either you make it harder to be targeting and you have a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2, or you start calling it on offense, which they're not going to do. They're not going to do that.
I think yesterday, that call yesterday was a prime example of how referees are so motivated by the harshness of the contact, right? Like that was the definition of targeting. Helmet on helmet. The guy's he's quote unquote defenseless because he's in the middle of turning up field. But it wasn't one of those hits like we saw from, who was it, Jackson in the Georgia-Texas game, where you just blast somebody. If that had been a harder hit, I think they would have called targeting, and they shouldn't be basing whether or not they're calling this foul on how hard the hit is.
Well, and the players recognize it too. Watch every time somebody hits somebody hard, the first thing the defensive player does is get up and look around because he thinks he's getting thrown out of the game, regardless of whether he thinks it's targeting or not. Like hard hits, it's like, oh no, you hit him too hard. Like that. That's like going to a Victoria's Secret model show and be like, oh no, take her out. She looks way too hot. Like that's the whole point.
That's happening these days too, I think.
Like you can't use your helmet as you can't use your helmet.
She's not fat enough.
You can't use your helmet as a weapon, guys.
Yeah, but it's
we
like
used to have a guy called Weapon X.
It's like, hey, we're gonna take away the helmets and just give them guns. That's what we're gonna do. All right, let's go to the chat quickly. Let's move on.
Let's go to Montano 808 Beats. He says these rules are actually causing more egregious injuries. Guys do not know how to tackle now.
Well, I told Reed, my wife, this yesterday on the call that's supposed to be targeting. She's like, "What are you supposed to do? Break his legs?" I was like, "That's a great point." Like, so I'm supposed to, like the hit on Rocco Beck, the Iowa State quarterback that got Shamari Simmons the targeting. What do you want me to do? Just go hit him in the knees? You want me just to snap him in half? Yeah, because guess what? That's a penalty too. He'll be in a wheelchair the rest of his life. You know what? The hardest hits I ever took were in my chest. And most of the times when I didn't see them, guess what? Sometimes you get hit so hard it doesn't hurt. You know what hurts? Hitting the ground after you get hit. That's typically, most guys don't get knocked out when they get hit. They get knocked out when their head hits the back of their head hits the ground. That's when they get knocked out.
Like the two worst things are in football is one, someone landing on you, and two, getting rolled up.
Oh, getting rolled up sucks.
And
Those-
losing.
Those are the absolute
And losing. Yes.
Losing hurts the worst.